Chapter 15. When Leah and Ethan returned to the campsite, the bonfire had died down to a pile of glowing embers. Sleeping bags stretched across blankets and quilts in clusters. Leah heard the soft whispers of conversation mixed with music from radios. She looked around for Charity. "Where do you suppose your sister is?" "I do not know. I don't see Jonah either. They are here, I'm sure. Charity would not go off the property." "I hope you're right. Jonah had too much to drink." Ethan spread out 2 sleeping bags. "Come here, Leah. I will tuck you in." She crawled inside the sleeping bag and Ethan fastened the side. "I'll bet this is how a caterpillar feels in a cocoon," she said. Ethan chuckled and wiggled into the sleeping bag next to hers. "Sleep fast. The sun will be up soon." Leah yawned. She snuggled closer to Ethan. "My nose itches." He kissed the tip. "Did that help?" "Much better." She felt Ethan's warm breath against her cheek. Her sleepiness vanished and her heart began to beat faster. "I've never spent the night with a guy before. I'm glad I am the first," he whispered. He freed his arms from his sleeping bag and caressed her cheek. "No fair," she told him. "I can't touch you. It is better this way. If you begin to touch me, I would not want you to stop." "Stopping is hard," she said. Her blood sizzled and her pulse pounded. He nuzzled her neck. "Leah, I would not ever do anything to shame you." She knew what he meant. He would not pressure her for more. Leah realized how easy it would be to let herself go with him. So very easy. "You are a person of honor," she said. The word sounded old-fashioned, but it was the right word to describe Ethan. He was honorable. He didn't know how else to be. He made Leah feel cherished. "Good night, my Leah." Ethan's arms enveloped her, sleeping bag and all. Soon she heard his rhythmic breathing and knew he'd fallen asleep. My Leah. She was his Leah. For all their differences, for all the chasms that separated them, she belonged to Ethan, and she hadn't an earthly idea what she was going to do about it when the summer ended. Dawn's pink fingers streaked the sky as Leah struggled to awaken. The aroma of freshly brewing coffee made her stomach growl. Beside her, Ethan's sleeping bag was empty. She sat up and rubbed her sleep-blurred eyes. She saw Ethan hunched down over a small campfire, filling 2 cups with coffee. She combed her hair with her fingers, wishing she had a brush. Ethan returned and handed her a coffee cup. "If you'd rather, I'll get you a soda." "No, coffee's fine." Leah took the cup from him and warmed her hands. They sat together on the quilt and watched the red ball of sun rise over the dew-drenched meadow. The morning haze began to lift, and the sky turned from pink to blue. The smell of coffee mingled with the scent of sizzling bacon. Leah said, "I have no idea mornings could be so gorgeous. The sun's always up by the time I get to work. I sleep in on the weekends." "I have always known," Ethan said. "It is my favorite part of the day." His deep love for the land shimmered in his eyes. "Now that you know, maybe you will also want to get up at 5:30 every day." "Nah," she said, scrunching her face. He laughed. Charity walked over and sat down with a heavy sigh. She looked haggard. "I thought the morning would never come," she said. "Where were you all night?" Leah asked. "I was caring for Jonah. He became very sick." She stole a glance at Ethan, who appeared uninterested. Leah said, "He drank too much, didn't he?" Charity nodded. "I'm sure he didn't mean to." Angry at Jonah for spoiling Charity's evening, Leah said, "You should have left him to suffer by himself." "I could not," Charity said miserably. "He had no one else." "Maybe he'll think twice before drinking that much ever again." "Maybe." Ethan spoke. "Jonah is trying to prove he's a man, but this is not the way a man acts. Don't criticize him," Charity said testily. "He will find his way back. I know he will." "It is best if you ride home with Leah and me. We can stop by my apartment and freshen up," Leah interjected. She didn't want Ethan and Charity arguing, especially over Jonah. He wasn't worth it, to her way of thinking. "I will change my clothes at your place." Charity looked down at the skirt Leah had loaned her. "I'm afraid this is messed up. I will clean it for you." "It's okay. I'll wash it." "I'm sorry, Leah." Leah didn't care about the skirt. She cared about Charity, and she hoped her friend wasn't making a mistake in caring about Jonah. "It's all right," Leah assured Charity. "The important thing is that you're all right. Did you have any fun at all?" Charity smiled, looked wan. "It was not what I expected. Maybe next year will be better. Maybe." Charity stared out across the meadow. "By next year perhaps Jonah will have tired of his fling." Leah hoped so. She recalled the secret of Eli, Ethan and Charity's brother. Would Jonah forsake his Amish upbringing as Eli had? Leah knew Jonah could break Charity's heart. Leah didn't even let on to Charity that she knew about Eli, but she couldn't look at Rebecca and not think it a shame that the child didn't know she had another brother. As for her feelings toward Mr. Longacre, Leah was torn. Her own father had walked out of her life when she'd been a small child, and all her life she'd wondered why. What had driven him off? She had no answers. But Mr. Longacre had disowned his eldest son. Eli's desire to go to high school and college seemed such a small deviation from the Amish lifestyle. This sobered Leah and disturbed her greatly. If Mr. Longacre would ignore his own flesh and blood, what chance did she have of his ever accepting her, a stranger and English to boot? The problem with the Amish, Leah decided, was that they never made allowances for individuality, and yet Leah had to admit that despite its inflexibility, she was attracted to the Amish lifestyle, to the Amish sense of community and togetherness. She wondered why people couldn't have it both ways. Once the July 4th weekend was over, the ranks of tourists thinned considerably. But Leah went back to work at the inn. Kathy was replaced by an Amish girl named Esther, who was so shy it was more than a week before Leah heard the girl say a word. No matter how many friendly overtures Leah made, Esther couldn't be coaxed from her shell. If Leah asked her a question, Esther turned bright red, stared down at the floor, and barely mumbled an answer. Leah missed the talkative Kathy immensely. Leah spent the weekends with Ethan. He arrived at her apartment on Saturday mornings, stayed with friends in town on Saturday nights, and spent all day Sunday with her. This meant that he was not attending Amish church services at all. She couldn't imagine that Ethan's weekend absences won her points with his parents. She found things to keep her and Ethan busy when they were together. They watched videos, went to movies, skated at the rink, and drove into the countryside for picnics and shopping sprees. On the first Saturday in August, he took her horseback riding. Is he safe? Leah asked, looking at the big horse standing in the yard of the riding stable. I don't think he likes me, Ethan. Ethan shimmied up his mount as if he'd been born to ride a horse. The owner tells me your horse is very tame. He will not harm you. I thought you once lived in Texas. The horse turned its neck and stared at Leah as if to say, are you getting on or not? Leah glared up at Ethan. You've watched too many movies. Most Texans wisely drive cars. She took a deep breath and put her foot into the stirrup. With an effort, she hauled herself onto the horse's back and then held onto the saddle horn and reins for dear life. Okay, I'm on. Ethan laughed aloud. If you could see your face. I'm so glad I'm entertaining you. She shifted horse snorted. How do I put him in gear? Give him some slack on the reins, dig your knees into the sides, and he will go. Leah did as she was told, and the horse broke into a trot. She almost lost her balance, fell forward, and hugged the horse's neck. Where's the brakes on this thing? Ethan came up alongside and took the horse's bridle, slowing the animal to a walk. When you want him to stop, pull back on the reins. You must show him who is boss. No contest, he's the boss. He's bigger. Leah's legs felt awkward, spread around the horse and saddled. Does this ever get more comfortable? It is customary to feel sore at first, but once you get used to riding, I'll be too old to do it. They rode a well-defined trail that cut through the countryside, following a stream. Before long, Leah began to relax. I will tell you something, Ethan said, breaking the silence. I am learning how to drive a car. You are, but that's good, isn't it? Leah realized he was further defying his father and his Amish upbringing. Who's teaching you? Jonah. I'm sure Jonah gets a thrill out of seeing you try more and more English things. You sounded as if you do not approve. I didn't mean it that way. I think you should learn to drive if you want. Will you ever own a car? I do not think so. Tell me about driving. Do you like it? It is hard not to go fast, and there is much to remember. A car has many buttons and switches. A horse is much simpler. He patted his horse's neck. But a horse does have soft leather seats. Leah squirmed. She couldn't get comfortable in the hard saddle. But a car could not put a soft noise on the back of your neck and nuzzle you.